love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't stop, just give it up, don't stop. Back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong, you will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you're gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate, I attack. I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal. Don't stop, just give it up, don't stop. Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't stop, just give it up, don't stop. Crack. And if you get in my way, you're gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back. Mirror breaks after math, when I hate, I attack.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Blackbird 91. Yes, we are talking to you guys about Married at First Sight. It is the last one in the, well, I guess it's the last one before they do Where Are They Now. I don't know if we'll do a episode on that, but listen, this is the reunion part 2 where we are breaking down what happened. And let me tell you this now, it was a great episode again. I think it just in terms of just tying up the loose ends and bringing the show to a close and an end. Yes, we got to hear a bit more between Juan and Carla. She let us know. I want to say this: Carla was very much hurt by Carla looked hurt. I can't lie. She looked very hurt by the fact that her and Juan didn't work out. I was seeing watching her eyes. She seemed to be hurt by it, the pain that was seemed to be in as well. It might have just been the lights. I don't know, but it did look like she was a lot of pain in regards to the situation with Juan. So I think she really did want it to work. I think she really wanted to make it happen between herself and Juan, and unfortunately, it didn't work out well for them. And then obviously we had David and Madison. I must say the body language on David and Madison was crazy. I won't lie to you. David and Madison, their chemistry looks like it's on point. He had his leg literally perched on her leg. I can't lie to you. His leg was across her leg. Her hand was on his leg. Her leg was touching his leg. Like they were intertwined. And something that Madison was doing was really looking at David as he was talking, just seeing what he's going to do and how he's going to lead them out. And the brother led him well. I can't lie to you. He said, listen, I'm going to respectfully decline. And they kept it pushing. I think obviously with Madison, shout out to Madison, took some accountability. I won't lie to you. I think after a year, kind of realized where she went wrong and what she contributed towards the situation between her and David, admitted that she wasn't doing the most. And I think she took a little bit of accountability, which was also really, really good. And I think it's growth. Then obviously we had Alex. I say Alex. Alan talk about his growth as well. Alan spoke about how he's now in a relationship. Well, he's with someone as well, and it felt like they had, he had started to move. I feel like he's moved on. You know what I mean, to some degree. But it's still painful. I have to give him a big shout out because I won't lie to you. Even a year on, you might be a little bit salty. You know what I'm saying to you? Like your ex-girlfriend who got stolen by David is being praised by the group that you're in. Yeah, you might be a little bit salty. Yeah, even if she wasn't necessarily doing what she needed to do and show love to you. So massive, massive thing. But I want to focus mainly on one thing today. Emem and Brandon. I'm going to have a conversation with the lads about this situation because I'm concerned. I think Brandon showed behaviors that were concerning to me. Yeah, today was concerning. What was also interesting is how Brandon was so quick to want to make it official and try and get a wedding going on with Pastor Cal. And I said, why are you being so performative? And it clearly hasn't been discussed with Emem because she was confused as to why he's not confused, but more surprised, which let me know that they hadn't discussed this. And I'm like, why are you forcing trying to be married on TV? Like now it seems like everything you've done is very performative. I mean, I thought it was performative before, but now it looks really performative. So, I definitely can see that there's some interesting aspects there that I think we need to break down as well. So again, tonight will be the men's panel talking about a few things. What we will do is after this, there will be another show as well after this. So I'm going to keep this one a bit short. This is going to be about an hour, maybe even a bit. Yeah, probably about an hour and a half max. Because we're going to be launching the men's panel on a Wednesday now. We're going to be soft launching it today, but we're going to be launching it on a Wednesday, replacing Married at First Sight. We're going to be talking about relationships, talking about, I guess, pop culture. Right now, if you guys have been following, you saw that just hilarious situations going on. And I really want to get the men together to kind of have a discussion about this, because I think office politics, corporate world, black women in, male dominated spaces, having that kind of conversation from a male perspective, I think we're really, really good as well. So you are going to be seeing on a Wednesday night, the men gathering together to have these conversations on important topics within pop culture and relationships as well. Okay, first things first. So let me get, obviously, Easton. I see Easton in the background, so I'm going to bring him on, have a little bit of a chat. I'm sure the rest of the boys will join us in a few minutes. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you're liking, you're sharing, and you are subscribing. And if you have not joined the membership, it's about to go membership only. Yeah, usually I'll give you guys half an hour. I ain't got the time today. Okay, so if you're not a member, join the membership. It's £1, it's $1. I've made it cheap so that you guys can also join it and enjoy and not have to stress about breaking your banks as well. Okay, so if you haven't done so, there's a $sign underneath the chat. Just click on it, join the membership. If you can't join it with your current device, change the device you are going to do it from, and it should work for you as well going forward. Okay, all right, we want to see you guys in the conversation and in the chat as well. Okay, so let me get this up for you guys and get my my goons up as well, so we can have this conversation. All right, cool. Easton, what are you telling me, bro? Oh,
Is
I,
this the
there we go. There we
is
go.
this are we good? We good. Is this the point of the conversation where I get my flowers, or do we do this later on? Because
I mean, you can get your flowers if you want. What do you want to get your flowers for?
like I said a couple of weeks ago, I had a feeling that unfortunately I don't like to report this news because of the back end of having some unfortunate news. But Emem being pregnant at some point in time, I did call that, and I just want you to know I'm not going to change my name to John the Baptist, but I do want my flowers. I'm just glad the season is over with at this point. This is a doozy of a season. Everybody is showing their true colors now, and I'm just going to be commentating about it. I've learned quite a bit, and so I'm going to be giving my best efforts to show growth that the season has forced me to be in.
Yeah, listen, hey, I can't lie to you. I mean, you did say, obviously, for you, that you did say that she might be pregnant. And on the show, they did say, unfortunately, that she had a miscarriage. We're not sure exactly the timeline, exactly. So there was something that was going on in that space. But yeah, you did say it. You did say it, and I definitely give you props, because when you said it, I said, I'll hold it, but it sounds a little bit crazy, but I'll hold it. And you did mention it, so if you get things right, I will always call out and say the person got it right. It's unfortunate you had a miscarriage, though.
Very unfortunate. Nobody should have to go through that, and I really felt secondhand, not even secondhand. Like Brandon shouldn't have volunteered that information out, and we have a whole segment on Brandon. And I will go into I'm dismantling the patriarchy by dismantling that brother, but the fact that he didn't even it didn't seem like they were on equal footing in terms of what they were planning on divulging into, talking about. He was just a joke the entire time. And the fact that Brandon would just go up there and not even have the audacity to ask somebody she's still probably processing and grieving through that, and he's just going to put that out there, and then all the noises and saying they're back trying at it and all. I mean, look, Brandon is a goofball. My first way of dismantling the patriarchy, ladies, if you ever see a man who's wearing a bow tie like that, walk the other way. You wasting your time. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Well, I think we should probably start there with Brandon, because I think that's what we're going to focus on today.
Sure.
Obviously, the Brandon situation. I think what I saw with him was just concerning for me, because I think, after that, it was concerning first and foremost when I heard the fact that he made a joke about them having sex, and I was like, why did that need to come out? I don't get it. Didn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying to you? Well, the first red flag for me was when he mentioned about Akechi not coming to shake his hand, and he thought he wasn't shaking his hand. That was off. Second part, obviously, then was him talking about them having sex and kind of making an allusion to all that, and he did it. He actually did it twice. So the first one that he did, he talked about them, having sex, and then the second time he said about the Hennessy. And I was just like, why are you making those jokes now? Why are you making the jokes about sex? I get it. Talk about your relationship. Talk about the fact that you guys are having a good time. Talk about the fact that you guys are growing. Love it. But why are we having this conversation about sex? That's the part that was weird for me. And I was a bit concerned about it. Let's address that aspect. What was your thoughts of that?
To be honest, again, it was one of the most cringiest moments that I've seen on reality TV, and there's been plenty, but it just seemed like he didn't have the wherewithal to understand that he was in the moment. The mindset of knowing that this is about Emem, and also knowing that Emem went through a traumatic situation with Akechi, and then even him just coming out to the stage onto the stage was making it about himself. Oh, I had a bet running that Akechi wouldn't even shake my hand, and then he was standing up. He should have been trying to. I did like that he tried to uplift Emem in some moments, but how he does it is in such a cringy, grandiose kind of pandering way where you know that it isn't authentic. And unfortunately, Emem is in a position to where she's in a lose-lose. She's lost in the sauce. She's lost in the sauce. Because we already know that Emem will die on the shield to make this thing happen with somebody. And so I don't know what's going on in the back end with all the stuff that they got going on, but I like to break it down like this. Our good sis, Emem, isn't thinking with a clear head, because if she, again, unfortunately, there was a miscarriage, so I have the utmost thoughts and prayers going out to her. But if she was pregnant before she even had him sign a prenup or anything like that, you know, these aren't, like, she's not thinking with the right mind frame. And knowing that you have Brandon, who's acting like a complete and utter fool on TV, it's like she's dating a man child. So I can get into it more. Sean just hopped on, but I'm supremely disappointed. I think that they'll survive because man will will this thing to in existence. Brandon doesn't seem like he's got, I'm not saying he doesn't have much going on for himself, but we know that a man will give life to a dying and dead situation. And so I'm just a little bit disappointed, to say the least.
Thank you for that. Sean, what's your thoughts on this? We're just talking about Brandon mentioning the sex aspect in this conversation. What to get your thoughts on what you thought about this and him talking about the intimacy between himself and Emem to the experts?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the right word so I don't say the wrong thing. But I think he is a little, there's a delay somewhere. There has to be, because the way he gets to carrying on, the way he overshares information. I heard Easton in terms of like a man child. I think that's an accurate description. Just his affectation, the way he, is just extremely giddy. I think if it's not a delay, he definitely is a little, he's immature. Um, and I think that yeah, I I I don't know, but what I can say with certainty, outside of whatever Brandon got going on, is that he loves some MM. He loves her dirty drawers. And if they're gonna make it, I hope so. I mean, I don't want anything. I don't wish them unwell, but they definitely seem to be into each other. I just hope that she takes a couple of those recommendations for therapy, and they did mention some level of couples counseling. I hope that's on their list, because right now it's just things are happening so fast. They're happening so fast. And again, he seems like a nice guy. You know, he seems like a nice guy, but he's just very much all over the place on social media. you know, I think I told you this, Kojo. He wound up following me, and it's like I'm like, who is this guy? You know, and he's just very eager. Very very eager, and I think that they need to see that lady, and I'll land it there.
Yeah. I mean, get Jack and Glenn on. Yes, sorry about that. I just threw you in there, Glenn. Sorry about that, bro. Yeah, we were literally just talking about Brandon. We just literally started, so you're good. We're talking about Brandon and him mentioning sex in regards to the conversation with the experts and Emem. Wanted to get your thoughts on this. How did you view that situation? How did you see it? Is this becoming of somebody who's supposed to be a husband? Is this the kind of behavior we should be expecting?
No, I thought it was childish, man. Me and Jack laughed at it. Watch it, like, did I see him do this? Like, I haven't seen that since I was like a little kid, right? I haven't saw that like since I was in first grade of kindergarten. That was like I can say my age, but that was back in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what is he doing? And you put information out there that she may not want to put out there, right? She didn't. When she put the information out there about her having a miscarriage, maybe she didn't want to tell everybody that. That's a traumatic experience. But because you talked about sex, it brought other questions up. You know, and so to me, he's childish. She mentioned in the last reunion that her and him had up and downs. Their relationship has been a little bit rocky anyway. So I can just look at some of the childish behavior he does. A lot of it, to me, is stunts for TV. You know, you ask a woman to marry you without a ring. That's a stunt, right? To get on TV. You go try to date this woman because you talk to her cousin because you know she's on TV. That's a stunt. And then you try to shake this man's hand. Like, what you making bets for about shaking this dude's hand? Like, it's been a year after this. Y'all have no relation. Y'all have nothing to do with anything. It's been a year, right? So there's no point in this. Like, you and Casey has no shouldn't have any dealings anyway because, again, technically the relationship was over. So to me, he's doing a lot for TV. He's doing a lot for TV, and I think she has a problem on her hands that she may not be able to fix and control. And we still don't know why he divorced that other wife. And was it him or was it her? We just know he's getting divorced. So there's a lot of problems. And I'll save that for later because I was about to say sometimes God doesn't make mistakes. So
I definitely understand that. Yes, Ethan, you want to fill back in? Go for it.
The only thing I was going to say is I think the emergence of Brandon on this episode really opened the door for, I guess, a really vulnerable place that Emem could be. Because I don't really think many people should talk about like their intimacy and stuff like that on a national stage, especially when it's unwarranted. And the show doesn't really give that. Like MAFS is a little bit more seasoned, more mature version of these other, a lot more immature dating shows. And so it wasn't getting to that point. Now there are instances where we got like, David and Madison, obviously because of like the whole eat you up text, but Brandon inserting that with his childish antics started the ball rolling. And I think that as a guy and as men, we have to also play defense in protecting our significant others and our partners, our girlfriends, our wives, et cetera, because I don't think that you should ever have, like, I should never let the world get to see you in that way, or even it be mentioned in that way. And so I just didn't feel like Brandon did a really good job of protecting him at that moment. He could have been drunk, but even then you need to be on all guards, especially in a hostile situation like a reunion. This isn't, it's almost like war. Like everybody's trying to get their last little piece off. And so if anything, y'all need to make sure that you're hitting home some certain points. And I just don't like the fact that Brandon seemed like he was the least protective of Emem in a situation where, it's kind of hostile and a little bit volatile, because you never know what questions are going to be asked.
I blame Married at First Sight because he should have never been on it in the first place. I blame production. I blame them. Like, you didn't see anybody else's significant other that they're dating come on there, right? There was, to me, I think they were grasping for straws and needed more content. There was no need for Emem. There was no need for Brandon to be on the show. If you think about them to put him on. We just knew Ikechi and Emem was done, and she was dating somebody else. They could have left all that off and never invited him on, but they opened the door for him to be the seeking attention, and now he wants to run in it and go with it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Glenn, 100%. It's like, because the season was so horrible with the matches, they're trying to like uplift or give a platform to these other relationships that developed. I think they spent too much time talking about David and Madison. Want to prop them up and celebrate them when they maneuvered the process in a totally wrong way. So between Brandon up there with Emem, have him backstage. He wasn't part of the cast. He's not part of the show. He wants to be there backstage. Oh, Emem, we see you have a budding new relationship. Pan the camera back to him and let's move on. Like, we don't need segments of their love story, especially knowing that there's some trauma mixed in there too. Like, come on, let's just move it along.
I love the point that you guys are making as well. Now, obviously, I think on the back of what you were saying, Ethan, I would love to ask the fellas this question as well. Like, what is the role of a man here then in this space in regards to protecting his wife? Because I think, he wants to become a husband. He has been a husband before, and he wants to become a second husband. I want to know from especially Sean and Glenn, you have a better understanding if you have experience in this area. What is like the role of that husband then in this space? Because I think Isa made a really good point. This doesn't feel like somebody who's protecting their partner. So if we had Brandon here as a brother, and he was sitting down talking to us, and we just seen that scene, what would we be saying to Brandon in terms of like his manner and his conduct and the way that he's kind of gone about it with Emem on the screen? How would you look at it? I'll go Sean and then go to Glenn first. I'll go Sean then Glenn, and then I'll go to Houston after.
Yeah, what I would say, and I think a lot of men make this mistake because when they hear that, men are supposed to protect, they get so caught up in the physicality of what protection looks like. And it's just so much more than just physically protecting them. It's holding space for them. It's appreciating her. It's protecting her peace. It is protecting the very essence of who she is. You know what I mean? It's not just um protection physically, or him showing up in front of Ike and having some man-to-man moment, because that's not about Emem. That's about you and your ego feeling like you're doing what he didn't do, and you're one-upping him. But that's not about her. Protecting her is remaining cool. It's not giving a care to Ike being in the room and not being unfazed, and being respectful if you have to be, but not going out of your way to prove points to somebody that's not even in her life anymore in that capacity. Things I had to learn. I think it's not like we just walk out knowing exactly how to make all the right decisions. I had to learn the hard way with some bumps and bruises, because my ex-wife had a first husband who was the father of her kids. So I had to find my way in the midst of all of that, and then really understand, like, hey, what is me showing up and being respectful look like? And sometimes it means just being silent. Sometimes it means, how would a mem feel if we started going down this path? And I think Brandon needs to be more in tune, less of his ego, less of proving a point to the world, less of being more performative, which comes from, again, him wanting to prove himself to people for whatever reason, but more about your person. It's self-sacrificing, it's protection in the sense of, I put myself before you. And those are things I think that I would want him to learn, as he looks to love her.
Same thing on Sean. I'm piggyback on Sean a little bit. Same thing. Is more emotional, right? It's not necessarily the physical sense. You go through that scene. He didn't show her any kind of emotion. He made that about him. Even when she had to share, I go back to the miscarriage. Even when she shared that, it didn't show any emotion there. That he didn't put his arm around her, comfort her. Didn't give any kind of kind words. He came out braggadocious, right? Made it about him. If I'm gonna cover you, I'm gonna protect you. I'm covering you from everything, and then covering is in a sense of emotional. What do you need to do the emotional standard? How do I hold you up? How do I lift you up? How do we come together and look better on TV? Because again, if you're going to marry this woman, we have to become together, right? You didn't cover when you asked Pastor Cal to marry you, because she looked like she didn't know, right? You put her on Front Street, and you want another man to be involved with your foolishness. You don't do that, right? You make sure that she's always respected, and you as a husband or soon to be husband, always keep them in keep her at a high standard, making sure that everything is protected. Make sure her integrity, her character, her standards, the way that everything needs to be. You take care of her with respect and dignity, and that's what he has to do. He doesn't do that. He makes it about when you walk in the room, you don't have to walk around the house saying, I'm the man, right? And she's a woman. It has to be is a energy that you have and a vibe that you have when you walk in, and then she knows that you're protected, that she's protected, that she's taken care of. I didn't see that when he's with her, right? I don't see that she says it, but I don't see the protection or the comfort that she has. And sometimes you see that when you see couples, right? Then he said something about he wanted her Olivia Pope. That's not that whole right there, because you got to know who Olivia Pope is, right? She's the one who's cheating, right? So even those comments, to me, if you want somebody, you name somebody classy, somebody that you can respect, and everything you do, you're trying to uplift and protect her. He could have came off so clean here, like, you know what? Ike didn't want to shake my hand. It's fine, but me and Emem are doing well, and they could have told their story and not made about everybody else's story. And that's what he messed up at with her. And I think that's what some of the arguments, because her personality is not like his, and he's the totally different personality from what we saw. And so it's gonna be a lot, but he has to cover her and protect her in every aspect, not physically, but emotionally, mentally. I'm interested to see, how did he handle the miscarriage and how did he protect her then? That's the question I would ask him. How did you handle that one?
Good points. Go for Easton.
My only, I guess, add into this was to de-escalate the situation. I think that, sometimes, like Sean was saying, a lot of men think about the physicality, but we also have to think about the back foot, maybe de-escalating a situation. And if you're going into a reunion where you don't know the questions, you don't really know the topics, and you're not the star of the show, I think it's in your best interest and your relationship's best interest and your significant other's best interest to be a little bit more reserved, but also, play a little bit more defense. I think that there's some questions and maybe some uncertainty. And I'm sure that almost Emem is getting a lot of answers to some questions that she didn't have prior to, while she was going through that situation, that might be a little shaking. Like, imagine you hearing that your ex-husband wasn't sexually attracted to you, and then having to answer additional follow-up questions after that. I think that he could have done a better job, because he is listening inside the room. I think he could have done a better job of de-escalating the situation and also reassuring her. But no, he chose to make it about himself. He chose to put their sex lives in the forefront of everything. He also, even at the expense of a miscarriage, made it a opportunity to say, oh, well, we're trying again. We're going to make it happen. Like, I think that those moments could have been just cut out completely. And that's playing defense from a guy. Like, you trying to take a little bit of the attention off a lot of the extreme thoughts and some of the antsiness that Emem could have been facing. You could have done a better job of being supportive. But those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, listen, I definitely hear that as well. I think all the points that have been made have been really powerful, because I think it's about understanding that as a team, we want to make sure that we are backing each other and make sure we got each other's back. And sometimes that is, we may not like what David did, but you saw how David was trying to cover medicine. You know what I mean? It was a bad lie, but we saw him trying to cover medicine, right? Because that's what a man's supposed to do. He's supposed to fall on his sword. He's supposed to protect. He's supposed to sacrifice for his wife. He's meant to be the protector. And that moment, what Brandon missed is, as you guys were saying, was that emotional piece. It's just that understanding the nuance of the situation, that right now, bro, making a joke about sex when you know what she's gone through with Ike, just in the time. Like, even if you didn't know about the miscarriage situation, like just a mere fact of just making that joke shows me that you don't know time and season. And so we are seeing, and look, hopefully it works out. But what we are seeing is problematic signs that actually in this space, in Mem, you haven't got a better person. Yeah, he may seem more reactive towards you, but he may miss out on covering you on certain areas in that space. And also, her body language her facial expressions usually sometimes a little bit some way, but her body language just seemed a little bit off. Like, and this, especially in this episode, like when they were having that conversation with the experts, it just felt a little bit off. Like, it felt like she was stiff. That's what I would say. And I think someone you put in chat, it's like she was stiff. Her hand was always in her way, in her lap. She didn't seem free. She didn't seem free, and so I don't know. It is something else is probably going on. Maybe she's having second thoughts. Maybe she's really thinking about why is she actually here. Maybe she wants to be able to go, but can't find the tools and the strength to be able to leave. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, again, I think, Easton, you kind of mentioned it too. It may be that the effects of the miscarriage too, in terms of there's a lot of weight, a lot of thought process, a lot of emotional baggage, and then you've got the situation. So there's probably a lot going on at a particular time and moment. It just doesn't help to have a behavior from your partner behaving like a bozo in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the time that you need him to be a man in this situation. And I'm impressing on this point because I believe that our panelists are quite versed and are quite aware of these things. But there are other people going to be watching who may think that it wasn't that heavy or that bad. But it's for us as men to be able to understand that that protection piece is even about not just your partner, it's also about your team. It is your name, it is your household, it's your family. Like, you are exposing, you're exposing not only Emem but your family, right, to the wider world in a way that you don't want them to, so they can have something to say when they don't need to. So it's just a case of, again, a good leadership is about also sometimes, like you were saying, brother, being proactive, as the boys were saying, being proactive and just really paying attention that, you know what, okay, we don't need to say this because right now I'm just saying. And I'll give you a good example, whether we like it or not. David and Madison, when Madison was about to get irate in that room and was about to lay Michelle out verbally, he said, all right, pack it up, grab your stuff, let's go. Madison, come on, get up and get out, let's go. Right? And again, he did it on this episode where he said, listen, I refuse to answer that question. I'm going to keep it as it is. And, whatever the experts thought they could say didn't make a difference because he had set a boundary for them to not go any further. And I think this is where men play their best role. And I think sometimes this is what comes back to Sean's point too, and Glenn, you've made it, and Ethan, you've made it, is that sometimes as men, you think that it's about just being physically being able to protect, right? But the reality situation is there's a lot more work in the emotional space where sometimes you just need to be able to say, maybe not talk, or sometimes you have to let experts know, do you know what? Okay, we can't go any further here because of some things we've gone through. This is specific for us. We have to talk about this behind the scenes for ourselves. But he was so concerned with joking, laughing, whether he was drunk or not, and then wanting to get married, that he missed this complete moment. And so, yeah, Emem's got some issues on her hand that she's going to have to work through. But this is what happens when you kind of rush things. Shout out to Corey Coleman, who puts a super chat, says, yo, we can talk about the embarrassment. That is Brandon all day, but in the end, Emem is the one who chose him, chooses to stay with him, like she choose to chase Ike. We got to hold Emem accountable. I agree with that too. She has to be held accountable as well for choosing Brandon in that particular space as well. I don't disagree with that particular aspect. I do want to mention, obviously, again, because we touched a little bit, but yes, the aspect of her being in a miscarriage. I think, Glenn, you mentioned this when we had our conversation some time back. I would love for you to be able to talk about this as well, because I think, again, from a male perspective, Brandon, again, I think missed an opportunity here, again, to protect. And I think this is something that maybe as men, we may not always fully grasp and understand, because it doesn't happen to us physically, but emotionally it does happen to us. So we do feel it. We do go through it as well. But I would love for you to kind of speak on this as well, and then I'll get Sean to speak on it as well, and then Easton, I'll get you to speak on it as well, because I think this was something that came up, and I thought it needed to be addressed, but it didn't get addressed in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about us, me and Jack all the time. I talk about it. Our first child, when she first got pregnant, she had a miscarriage, and I can tell you that was one of the lowest moments as a man, because there's nothing I could do. Right? There was nothing you could fix. You can't put a Band-Aid on it. You can't do anything. It was an emotional situation, because your mind takes a trip. Like, is it something that I did? Even though it was in the confines of marriage, am I getting stuff back because of what I did earlier in life? And so you can't fix. So now you try to fix and have an emotional connection with your wife or the woman who has given birth and you lost a child. To me, it was one of the moments like she was going through pain and she was hurting. And you can say it's going to be okay and we can try again. But at that moment, that's not something that you want to hear, right? Because you're losing life. You still compassionate. You got to show compassion. You got to show empathy. And the time that she want to cry, you got to cry. And the times that you want to cry, you got to cry in front of her. And that's one of the things that I learned, was that during those moments, we have to move through this process together. But it's a totally different level for a woman when they go through a miscarriage, because it's a physical sense, the toll on your body. It's a toll with you mentally. Do you want to get back and try again? Right. And so that's one of the things as a man, like, do I want to try again? What if it happens again? Do I want to put her through the situation again to go through that? So I had to really come to myself, say, you know what? And we had to come with each other on a common ground. Like, hey, we're going to try again. And whatever God has for this, we're going to have, and we're going to work out. And then we had 3 children. We had 2 children back to back. And then the third time she had another miscarriage. And so it happened again. And so you like, okay, God, whatever you're doing, let's like, it's okay. And then we finally had our daughter, but it's one of those emotional things as a man, you feel helpless. You can't do anything. And so that's why I was like, if Brandon, if she went through this miscarriage and it was close, like you should still be showing some empathy. And Emem might be still dealing with it, right? And think about it. I just want you to look at it this way. He has kids. So every time he talks about his kids, every time he may go play with his kids, or every time his kids maybe come over, um, it's and she may not say it, but it's something that she may be dealing with internally that she may not have shared. I don't have anything, right? I can't play with that kid. I can't see that kid. I can't deal with the kid. And so and she said she was 14 weeks. So that means you heard a heartbeat. You might have seen an ultrasound. So from that aspect of it, he has to be he has to be more open to her, because there's some things that she might still be going through that she didn't share. And she may not have that circle, because Jack had to get like a circle of women around her who've been through that situation and talk about it. And I know with me, there was no other dudes. I didn't find any of the guys, right, that had to go around there. So it's a support group for women that's not really for men, because everybody thinks the woman's the only ones that's affected through the miscarriage, but true men are affected as well, because you did help create something that didn't come to fruition. So it becomes an emotional piece that everybody has to deal with, husband and wife. But I think she also deals with it too, the fact that he has kids and she doesn't, and they're not really married yet. So at this point, he can actually leave. And so in her mind, it could be a lot of things playing, but he has to be there emotionally for her and not just go and try again. That's why I think the sex talk was so rude and crude, because she may not be ready to go again. She may not be ready to try to have another child, because again, that's a toll on your body. And in her mind, she may be thinking, man, what if this one doesn't come to fruition? What if this one doesn't come to fruition? So that's something that he has to look at as well. But as a man, for women out there who has somebody that or had a man, check on your man. If you had a miscarriage, ask him how he feels. Have that conversation with him, because again, men hurt as just as much as women do when a kid ain't presented, or kid doesn't come to fruition.
Thank you for that, Glenn. I appreciate it. Sean?
Yeah, Glenn echoed a lot of my sentiments. Similarly, when I was married, we did have miscarriages, and we, also had my ex-wife had an ectopic pregnancy. So it is very challenging. My heart really went out to her, and it actually triggered me a little bit when she mentioned that she had gone through that, and also being 14 weeks. So it is very delicate. It is such a tough situation, especially when you are really and anytime you lose a child, it hurts, and I don't want to make anything greater than the other, but I think it is slightly different when you are legitimately wanting that child, right? Because sometimes there's like oops, and then there's times when you are intentionally going through the process of planning your family. So it is a really big death blow, and I think that was just a missed opportunity for Brandon, in his giddiness and, somewhat, anxiousness. And I think, I want to preface it too by saying I think he's well intentioned. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet to prove anything otherwise. It's not to say it might not be that way, but for right now, it does come off that he does like her, right? I think he does like her, and I think they do genuinely like each other. I just think he is misguided in his eagerness to show the world that he really loves her. And I think that happens sometimes. Like, there are men that just get so eager and excited about a woman that they just go to the rails instead of like reeling back, being a little bit more measured, holding space for her, understanding that there's really been some true trauma that she's gone through and that they've gone through together, and not to just glaze over it and say, okay, let's just keep passing, and let's get back out there and try again. That's, we got to deal with the trauma and not just brush past things. And I think that is kind of a trend in their relationship. Like, we're not going to deal with trauma, we're just going to glaze over it and keep pushing forward.
Thank you, boys. Yes, Ethan.
I'm not an expert in this department, but I do wish Brandon, if I think he could have done himself a huge service if he would have been a lot more. I mean, since he was willing to share that information without Emem's knowledge, or it seemed like she was unaware of that, I think he would have done himself a huge service if he would have taken the approach of maybe more informative, or as an educator, or even talking about how they've been trying to work through this in their relationship. It just seemed like it was just a add-on to them being intimate. And I hope that we all take this as a cautionary tale of making moments about us, especially, or making light, because sometimes people will joke around very serious situations and serious topics, and they'll make light of it. But I think this, much like many other topics, isn't something that you make light of, and you don't want your partner to be almost the butt of the joke. And that's where I felt like Brandon was kind of doing, because between all the noises and the gestures, and then even this, oh, we're going to try again, we're trying again. Like, I think that maybe she might not even wanted them to talk about their attempts next time. Maybe she wanted it just to appear like, her to be pregnant, have a successful pregnancy, and then everybody to enjoy that, rather than there to be some level of expectation now that you're having, because you're saying that y'all are trying again, which she doesn't need, because it adds additional stress.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I mean, I think that in this situation, I think a little bit more empathy would have really gone a long way. And this was an ideal time again, I think, for Brandon just to take a little step back. You know what I'm saying? To like, because it almost looked like that he wasn't affected at all. And that, I'm ready to go again. We're ready to go again. It's like, well, it's a team effort, Brandon. This is not a thing that you do alone. And I think sometimes that just comes off as insensitive. So, again, I'm happy that the boys were able to kind of really bring a perspective so that other men can hear this as well. How important it is that, there's no need to rush ahead of the cart. You know what I'm saying, Chu? Right? The cart is behind for a reason. So take your time. Rushing ahead to try and speed things along without really fully understanding the process of what's going on with your partner, not checking in, not really fully understanding. Because me just watching it, I'm looking at her body language and it don't look positive. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't look positive, which means read the sign a little bit and just pull it back a little bit. Just pull it back a little bit. You know what I'm saying, Chi? You could have whispered in her ear and said, is it okay? Are you okay? Like, make sure, like, again, it's about making sure that the team is in good stead, and you have a partner that you're now rolling with. So, like, it was concerning to kind of see how he handled the aspect of the miscarriage, and then how he just kind of blurted it out. So he's blurted it out. He's now said it that, and he's like, and then they made a joke as well, and it's just like all of it just seems very, very much going back to said being very immature, and that in its essence is not destructive, but at these moments it can be. A time where your partner may feel like they really wanted some assurance, or they needed you to support them, they needed you to hear them out. One of those things. Those are the most important times that someone can actually go through it, and when it's going that particular direction, and you can stand there and be with them. So I do believe that he's missed a trick here, and I do believe that first and foremost that this should have not been something that came out just the way it did. And it is something that he'll have to look at and work on. Otherwise, it could cause further issues in the future between the two of them. So I definitely hear on that. Any other thoughts on Emem and Brandon today? That's all we're talking about, to be honest, because it's tomorrow that we go full on assault course. But any other thoughts on Brandon and Emem? Any other thoughts? Yes,
we can get into the weeds about Brandon and Emem. I echo a lot of the sentiments of the chat. I'm really worried about Emem. Now I can rail into Emem and her decisions and stuff like that, but I'm really worried. What worried me the most was that she was pregnant by a guy that she wasn't married to, which isn't a problem, but he seems like such a liability. Like, for her to have so much to lose, like jobs, she's a business owner. She's got all this stuff going on, and she's basically willing to squander it away for somebody who's currently in divorce proceedings, who hasn't been divorced yet, who couldn't even propose to her with a ring in the beginning, who seems really just out of place. It makes me feel a little bit of pity, and he's just a lot of pity, and he's a huge liability. Like, red flag is cool, but like from any perspective, anybody, like, Brandon is a huge liability. Sister's couch, multiple kids. His job is predicated on him being in another state because he's in Chicago, but his real estate broker license is in Indiana, so he can't do the same stuff that he's doing in Indiana as he is in Chicago or Illinois. So I think that it scares me. And if they're trying again and they ain't got married yet, like, hello, sis. So that's the only thing that is a point that keeps like glaring out to me. Is like, this guy's a huge liability, and it doesn't seem like Emem, like, God blessed her by not allowing Akechi to work his magic. It can work his way through, but now you got Brandon, who's a next level up, and he's a different beast.
You know, I agree with East, and you know, it's a shame that she's going through this, but she got it still from Eddie Murphy. She's looking for love in all the wrong places, and so it is a constant red flag. You got pregnant by a guy who technically was still married. You're technically still married. That's a red flag. That's the issue, right? You pregnant by. Go back to what he said. He was his first wife. You know, they got married in 6 months. I don't know if she was pregnant, but if you do the math, it seemed like she was pregnant, right? It seemed like somebody. So it seems his MO is to get them pregnant quick, right? Based off the conversation from, you know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, he was married for 10 years but had an 11-year-old. And I'm assuming this was with this woman, which is why he married her real quick. So this to me seemed like his MO: get them knocked up, get them pregnant, so I can marry him, and then whatever happens, happens. So to me, she has to understand it. And I'm always thinking, like, you know, when I see stuff like this, who's in your corner? Who's telling you or giving you that advice, and whose advice you're not listening to, right? Sometimes you have good cornermen. And if you really listen, your cornermen are supposed to protect you, right? And help you out. For those who watch boxing, I always watch who's in her corner, right? Who's giving her that advice, like, hey, this is a red flag. This dude is mess you over. His ex-wife is still bothering you. You know, she still might be calling the kid. So it's so many things, dynamics in this. I think she wants to be married so quick that she's missing everything that's going on. And I hate to say that years later or months later down the road, here in the near future, we maybe see Emem coming apart, saying her and Brandon not married together anymore. Just don't settle for anything. That's my biggest issue. I think she's just settling because it's the first guy who came after Ikechi. Is the first guy who came say, "What, I love you," or "I care about you," and she's rushing into all this. That's why Pastor Cal. Look at Pastor Cal. He said, "Dude, like, can I marry you right now?" Nah, he said, "Look, we gotta have some counseling sessions. We need to talk." Pastor Cal saw the red flags. He like, nah, there's some things that we need to discuss before I even sign my name to this or put my name on this as saying that, you know, that I married you to. And I think they need to go through a lot of counseling because there's a lot of dynamics to get involved in this. You come in to be a mother. You got to deal with another mother. You got to deal. Y'all both is divorced. He's been sleeping on. It's just like Ethan said. It's a lot. Don't jump into marriage without the counseling that you need.
Any other thoughts, Sean?
No, not really. I think a lot of great points were made. I just would add some level of positivity, you know, try to say, like, listen, it can work. They just need to slow down. I am glad that Pastor Cal, you know, in a very nice way, just kind of said the brakes need to be pumped in order for him to get involved. You know, and I think that sometimes when we don't realize the impact of our actions and we come out of one situation and then we just monkey bar into the next, we don't give ourselves a break. So, you know, I hope that they take this time this last year or so, because I know the reunion was filmed November 2024. The season ended in the end of 2023. So I'm really hoping that they continue to work on things and don't rush things. Although I'm not sure, because I looked like a couple of pictures I've seen online. I think I might have seen a wedding band somewhere floating around there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they launched that they are married. I just hope that if they are married, that they really do the work and don't focus on the world and the public, because sometimes that just becomes its own beast. But focus on each other, and really do some work to undo some of the problems and the issues of their past, because you don't just get out of a divorce clean. I know that firsthand. And for her, she just went through a very traumatic process of being married at first sight and it not working out and being somewhat embarrassing, and then jumping right into something else. There's healing that needs to be involved and work. Now they can do it together, but they definitely need to do it.
Whew. Yeah. I definitely hear that. I think I was just kind of watching it behind the scenes again. That scene about them even leading up into the conversation, and it was I was watching his behavior, and I was like, yo, he was so excited. He stood up, talking about how he want to get married, talking past the cow. Never, it hasn't even consulted him. Gets up. She's like, you can sit down. It takes a bit of a while before he sits down, and then they speak about wanting kids, and then he answers it again. Says, we were blessed in the beginning, and I'm looking at him going, okay, bro, like, yo, he's speeding along, bro, and he's not slowing down. And I just pray that Emem can actually start to take stock of what's happening. I think I definitely feel like that miscarriage took a toll on her, because her energy is different. It's definitely different. You can see that it's more measured, and so she needs to take some time out herself, and really start to look at a place where she is, really just giving herself a bit of time. You know what I mean? Like giving herself a bit of time to really be able to kind of assess the person in front of her and make sure that what she's choosing also is not from a place of trauma. Because she was also making a very big, bold claim, like, this is the kind of commitment I want. This is what I wanted. This is like what she wanted is speed. And that speed, whilst I hear it, but once you finish the show, you probably want to just take a little bit of time, right? The speed that you're talking for was going to be on the show and would have been fine. But because the show's obviously ended and you've just finished that situation, going into something else speedily, you know, that's very, very heavy. You know what I'm saying, Chu? So I pray that she's just taking a bit of time and just really being able to really assess what's going on around her and scope the landscape as well, because that's quite a heavy thing. Any other thoughts? Any last thoughts on this, guys? Because today is obviously just Brandon and Mem, and then tomorrow is the full panel, so we'll definitely chop it up about that. Okay, any other thoughts? Well, obviously, listen, we are soft launching the men's panel, I guess, talking about relationships, talking about pop culture, if you want to call it that. And obviously something very recently happened. So for those of you in the room, we are soft launching men's panel, so that every Wednesday, because obviously once Married at First Sight finishes, we need something we can talk about. And I'm enjoying the men's being able to be around each other and just be able to talk, and just share some wisdom as well. And I'm hoping that more men will come over. I'm seeing more men in the chat as well, so it's definitely helping. But obviously a recent situation has happened, and we're gonna definitely do a men's panel as well. So we're soft launching it today, and then next week we'll probably start. But I want to get the guys' thoughts quickly. It's a quick shift. I know it's a bit crazy because people come in for Married at First Sight, but they're gonna get a quick shift. There was a situation that happened, obviously, with Jess Hilarious and Lauren from Breakfast Club, and there was a situation also with that she came out and started blowing up the Breakfast Club and all the people that weren't defending her. I will play a little bit of a clip for you guys in a second or two as well, but I want to get you guys a perspective on it. If you haven't seen it, if anyone hasn't seen it, I will show you a clip. So give me a second, I will get it for you. But let me wrap up this segment of Married at First Sight. For those of you here in the room, thank you as well for watching us talking about obviously Married at First Sight. We will be back tomorrow to have the full panel with the ladies as well, talking about all things Married at First Sight super panel. So we'll be back tomorrow talking about Juan and Carla, Alan, Michelle, David, Madison. We'll be breaking it fully down tomorrow. For the next probably about half an hour, we're just going to have a quick catch up with the boys.